You think you're eating healthy. Some spinach with dinner, maybe a few cherry tomatoes on the side. But what if that bag of greens is laced with bacteria that could send you to the ER? What if the fresh produce you're trusting your health with has been sitting in a broken cooler, sprayed with lemon-scented chemicals to mask the rot, or even past its expiration date by weeks in the past year alone? Over a dozen grocery chains, including Walmart and Kroger, have issued recalls for vegetables tainted with Listeria, E. coli, and Salmonella. That's not rare. So are you sure you can trust what those chains sell is good for your body? How safe is your daily meal if the nearest grocery store is stocking moldy kale under bright lights and calling it organic? This is not the food your parents grew up with. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And in today's video, we will break down these 6 grocery stores in which what's being sold as fresh might be the very thing that makes you sick. Don't look away. You need to know what you're really bringing home. Number 1. Safeway. Safeway may try to sell the image of a high-end shopping experience with dimmed lights, tidy displays, and neat price tags, but for anyone paying attention, the illusion starts to fall apart the moment you reach the produce aisle. What looks fresh and clean on the surface often hides a horrible truth, one that could turn your next summer salad into a health hazard. And if you're stopping by Safeway for some vegetables, you might be walking straight into a ticking time bomb of food safety issues. Behind the soft lighting and pristine arrangements is a practice insiders call rotation theater. This isn't some quirky nickname, but a system where older, wilting produce is deliberately placed on top of fresh shipments so the bad stuff sells first. Imagine thinking you're picking up a crisp, freshly delivered head of romaine lettuce, only to take home something that sat out overnight, aging faster than your trust in grocery stores, and they're not exactly discreet about it. One viral Reddit post showed a crate of moldy bell peppers being wiped down with paper towels before being placed directly back onto display shelves. The manager's words, "If the customer doesn't touch it, they won't know." That's not just cutting corners, but a bold deception. Temperature safety is another red flag waving loudly in the past 5 years. Multiple health inspections have flagged Safeway locations across California, Washington, and Arizona for poor refrigeration practices. That means your pre-cut watermelon cup could have spent hours in what health experts call the danger zone, anywhere between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. In that range, bacteria multiply at dangerous speeds. At one location, the walk-in cooler broke down. The fix move all perishables into the floral fridge and cross their fingers, and that misting system that sprays a fine dew over the veggies to make them glisten. It might be doing more harm than good. Former employees have shared that these systems are rarely cleaned as they should be. One worker even said, "There's stuff growing in the pipes. You don't see it, but you smell it when you open the back valve." So, that refreshing mist might be more like a moldy sneeze, hardly the refreshment you were looking for. The complaints don't stop with back-end maintenance. Shoppers themselves have found disturbing surprises. A woman in Oregon discovered a live worm curled inside her pre-washed spinach. Another customer in Colorado bit into what looked like a perfect cherry tomato, only for it to collapse into a black, rotting mess in her hand. It came from a fresh pick of the day display. If that's fresh, we're in trouble. Even Safeway's organic section isn't safe from these shortcuts. When shelves run low, some employees admit to replacing sold-out organic kale with standard, non-organic kale just to keep the bin looking full. The organic label stays on, of course, meaning you're paying extra for something that's not even what it claims to be. Then there's the matter of pre-cut vegetables, those convenient little trays of baby carrots, celery sticks, and bell pepper strips. They may look like time savers, but they're breeding grounds for bacteria. Once the vegetables are cut, the exposed edges provide an expressway for germs, add moisture trapped inside the plastic wrap, and it becomes a petri dish, as one former deli worker put it. If you wouldn't eat a wet carrot after it sat on your counter for 12 hours, you shouldn't be eating these. What's most alarming is how much of this relies on customers not looking too closely. These stores bank on your assumptions, on you trusting what's in front of you. They assume you won't peel back every lettuce leaf or inspect every tomato, but once you start paying attention, you'll notice the soggy bottoms, the odd smells, the suspicious condensation that screams spoilage. You'll start wondering, why does this asparagus smell like gym socks? Or how is this salad already slimy when I bought it yesterday? Safeway isn't just failing at freshness, it's failing at trust. And if you're traveling this summer, especially in warmer states where these problems seem to pop up more often, Safeway is a store you might want to skip if vegetables are on your list. Number 2, Walmart. Let us continue with Walmart, which is America's largest grocery store chain. It's the place where you can grab everything you need without walking more than 15 feet. For many working-class families trying to stretch every dollar, Walmart feels like a convenient, affordable lifeline. But when it comes to vegetables, that illusion quickly falls apart. Behind those sliding glass doors, beneath the fluorescent lighting, lies a truth that many customers are only just beginning to discover. Walmart's produce section might be one of the most dangerous places in the store. Former employees have come forward, exposing troubling practices happening daily behind the scenes. A former produce worker in Texas gave this chilling fact. "We used to get boxes of lettuce that were already going bad. We just peeled off the slimy outer leaves, sprayed it down, and tossed it on the shelf. That's not quality control, just an awkward cover-up." Walmart's well-known obsession with rock-bottom prices doesn't just affect your wallet, it also affects every link in the supply chain. Suppliers are pushed to deliver produce at the absolute lowest cost, which often means vegetables are harvested too early, stored for longer periods, and shipped from farther away. That fresh bag of spinach you picked up on a Sunday morning, it could have been harvested 10 days ago in another state, then sat on a truck for 4 more days before being tucked away in the store's back cooler until someone noticed an empty spot on the shelf. And it gets worse, in many cases. The produce isn't even consistently refrigerated. Multiple whistleblowers have posted footage from store stock rooms, showing pallets of cucumbers left at room temperature overnight. Why? Because no one had time to unload the truck. Let that sink in. Your vegetables, left sitting for hours in heat, breeding bacteria before they ever make it to the sales floor. It's not just about freshness anymore, it's about sanitation, or the lack of it. In North Carolina, a customer posted a stomach-turning photo of a cabbage display infested with gnats. The store's official response: "We're looking into it. No apology, no recall, just corporate indifference." At another location, a toddler was caught on security footage licking tomatoes from a lower bin. For over 3 minutes, not one employee intervened. That same bin was restocked with new tomatoes later that day, without being cleaned. And then there's the matter of labeling, a problem that goes deeper than you might think. You may spot a sign that says organic or locally grown, but a 2022 investigation revealed that several Walmart stores were caught red-handed mislabeling imported vegetables from Mexico as local produce. That's dangerous. Imported vegetables are often grown under looser regulations. Some farms abroad use pesticides that are banned in the United States. Others rinse produce in untreated water. So when Walmart lies about where their vegetables come from, it's not just about price. It's about putting your health at risk without your knowledge or consent. This isn't a rare fluke, but a systemic failure. The produce section at Walmart may look colorful and abundant, but what lies beneath is a supply chain stretched too thin, a workforce under pressure, and a corporate model that puts cost-cutting above customer safety. If you're traveling this summer and looking for fresh, reliable produce, walking into a Walmart might expose you to far more than just high prices or wilted greens. You could be stepping into a silent health crisis, one that no sale tag can cover up. Number 3, Kroger. Now, let's turn our attention to Kroger, the second largest grocery chain in the United States on paper. But just like with all things mass-produced, being bigger doesn't mean being better. And when it comes to vegetables, size often comes at the cost of quality. If you're relying on Kroger for a quick grocery stop, or a retiree picking up some vegetables for the week, you might want to think twice. Because behind those bright lights and neatly organized produce bins lies a world of troubling practices that most customers never see. From a distance, Kroger's produce section appears colorful, fresh, and welcoming. But if you could see what happens in the back room or what employees have shared online, your shopping experience would feel very different. One former produce clerk at Kroger went public on a message board and didn't hold back. "We had a standing rule to rotate everything, except when we were short-staffed," which was almost always. That meant old stuff sat out way longer than it should have. That kind of negligence may not seem like a big deal, until you realize it's the very reason your tomatoes are mushy or your strawberries spoil 2 days after purchase. Multiple current and former employees confirmed that many produce shipments arrive in rough shape. Half-rotted bananas, bruised tomatoes, and soft strawberries are common. Instead of throwing these items out, the solution is usually cosmetic. Wipe them down, stack them neatly, put them on display. Then, there's something employees refer to as miracle spray, a mix of lemon juice and cold water. It doesn't disinfect anything. It just makes wilted lettuce and drooping spinach look perky again. That so-called fresh salad you picked up last week, it may have been a day away from the dumpster. Then we come to the pre-cut produce section. Bagged lettuce, celery sticks, diced onions, sliced carrots. These seem like time savers, but they're also highly vulnerable to contamination. The real threat comes down to two things: time and temperature. At some Kroger stores, employees have admitted to preparing these packs early in the morning and leaving them unrefrigerated for hours before finally putting them out. In some cases, when refrigerator space runs out, they don't chill them at all. One insider confessed, "It's not uncommon to find veggie trays sitting in the back room for half a shift before anyone remembers to refrigerate them." The dangers don't end there. In a 2021 audit, several Kroger locations were caught using misleading signs, claiming their produce was locally grown when, in fact, it was shipped in from overseas. That zucchini labeled fresh and local. It had a shipping label from Guatemala. Customers noticed. Complaints were filed, but most never heard anything back. And then, there's the issue of pests. A shopper in Cincinnati posted a video of flies crawling across mushrooms and bell peppers. Kroger's public response was the usual corporate statement: enhanced sanitation protocols. But just 2 weeks later, a nearly identical video surfaced from another store just miles away. The issue is not isolated, and it's not just bugs. At a Kroger in Georgia, a customer found rodent droppings behind a produce cooler. The store was temporarily closed, not because employees discovered the problem, but because a customer did. Think about that. A shopper had to report it before the store took action, and if that doesn't make you reconsider grabbing a deal. There's more. Kroger's produce value bins may seem like a bargain hunter's dream. Tubs of assorted vegetables at deep discounts. But where do those vegetables really come from, according to several store workers? Those bins are filled with produce that's bruised, damaged, and nearing expiration. If you see a value bin, one employee said, just know someone had to dig through the trash to make it. The sad truth is that while Kroger sells itself as a trusted neighborhood grocer, the behind-the-scenes reality paints a much darker picture. If you're trying to eat healthy on a budget, you deserve to know what you're really getting when you step into one of these stores. Because behind the fresh signs, clean aisles, and local labels is a system quietly banking on your trust and exploiting it every step of the way. Number 4, Food Lion. Let us now pivot to Food Lion, a chain that has become a household name across the southeastern United States. With its widespread presence and catchy slogan, easy, fresh, and affordable. It's not hard to see why many families rely on it for their weekly groceries. But as with so many things in life, slogans can be deceiving, while easy and affordable may hold true. The claim of fresh is where things begin to fall apart, sometimes literally. Right in your grocery bag. Unlike larger supermarket chains, Food Lion's produce section tends to be more compact, which makes it harder for stores to hide aging or deteriorating vegetables. One shopper from Virginia shared a photo of celery so dry and discolored at the base that it had turned brown, yet it was still on display, branded with a bold manager's special sticker. A former worker later confirmed the unsettling policy: if we could sell it before mold appeared, it went out on the floor. In other words, freshness was not about quality, it was about beating the mold to the finish line. Like many budget-conscious chains, Food Lion relies heavily on bulk deliveries, often scheduled just once or twice a week. That means vegetables like cucumbers, kale, and bell peppers may sit in backroom crates for several days before they're ever unpacked. And during that time, they're not always kept cold. A whistleblower from North Carolina shared that the store's cooler was frequently overloaded, forcing staff to stack vegetable crates in the hallway without any refrigeration whatsoever. This isn't just inefficient, it's a violation of basic food safety standards. And Food Lion has a history of public health missteps to prove it. In a 2019 state inspection of a location in South Carolina, Officials cited the store for holding pre-cut fruit at over 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a full 15 degrees higher than the safe limit for perishable produce. The same inspection revealed that leaking salad mix packages were contaminating neighboring items. The store's response: simply wipe them down and put them back on the shelf. But what's even more disturbing is how expired or aging produce is often repurposed instead of discarded. Multiple Food Lion employees have posted online, alleging that managers routinely encourage workers to chop up old vegetables for prepared deli items. Tomatoes that are going soft may end up in pico de gallo. Wilted spinach might be tossed into a fresh sauté blend. A deli cook put it bluntly: if it can be chopped. We use it, even if it's slimy. We just trim the edges. That's not just resourcefulness, that's cutting corners at the cost of your health. Customers have noticed these shortcuts too. One woman in Alabama posted a video of a sealed bag of baby carrots she bought from Food Lion. Inside, the carrots were coated in a grayish slime. The expiration date hadn't even passed. Another shopper from Tennessee reported live bugs crawling inside a sealed bag of coleslaw mix, despite the fact that it was still 5 days away from the listed sell-by date. But the problems don't end with the produce itself. The physical display systems in Food Lion stores are often made from rough wood or porous plastic materials that are notoriously difficult to sanitize. Over time, bacteria, moisture, and old food residue build up in cracks and crevices. One employee admitted, "We clean them once a week. Maybe. Most of the time we just sweep out the old lettuce bits." That means your vegetables might be sitting on surfaces more suited for compost than for human consumption. So what does all this tell us at stores like Kroger and Food Lion? The produce section isn't a celebration of freshness, it's a performance. A set piece. A stage dressed up with shiny misting systems and bright lights, designed to trick your senses into trusting what your gut should question. And when you start paying closer attention, the illusion begins to crack. You see the condensation trapped in the plastic wrap, the shriveled kale wilted beneath the top layer, the way pre-cut carrots start turning white around the edges. You notice that the more they try to convince you it's fresh, the more desperate it starts to feel. These are not isolated events. They are systemic patterns, habits rooted in cost-cutting, mismanagement, and neglect. They are the result of chains that put appearance before safety, and volume before quality. And if you're stopping by one of these stores during your summer travels, what you're really doing isn't just shopping for vegetables, you're gambling with freshness, with health, and with your own standards. The worst part, you usually don't realize it until you're already halfway through dinner, chewing through a salad that tastes more like old water and disappointment than anything remotely fresh. Number 5. Giant. Now, let us take a closer look at Giant, a grocery chain whose name suggests grand scale, but not necessarily grand standards. On the surface, Giant's produce section appears completely ordinary. You'll find clean aisles, neatly stacked fruits and vegetables, and bright, inviting lighting. But that lighting might be hiding more than it reveals. According to several former employees, some of Giant's produce displays are arranged not with freshness in mind, but purely for visual appeal. One former worker explained it this way: "They told us to build towers with the newer stuff on top and the older stuff on the bottom. The objective was not to rotate stock properly. The goal was far simpler: make the display look full. So while you're reaching into the middle of that pyramid of tomatoes, you might actually be picking up one that's been sitting there since Monday, slowly softening, slowly decaying." Real-life shoppers have begun to notice. One customer from Pennsylvania posted a photo of a pre-cut vegetable tray, wrapped in plastic, with thick condensation fogging up the inside. The caption read, "Looks like it's sweating out its regrets." Another customer shared a disturbing story about a bag of spinach they had purchased at Giant, just 2 days after bringing it home. The spinach had turned black. When they examined the package again, they noticed something suspicious. The printed sell-by date wasn't clearly visible. It hadn't been removed, but it had been smudged just enough to become unreadable, whether intentional or careless. It left a bad taste literally and figuratively. Unfortunately, these were not isolated incidents. A former produce worker at Giant described how overripe cucumbers and tomatoes well past their prime were regularly pulled off the shelves, sorted, and repackaged into bundle deals like 3 for $2. When someone on staff questioned this, the manager replied bluntly, "Better in a sale than in the bin." In other words, better for the store's bottom line, even if it compromises your health. Pest problems have also plagued some locations. In the year 2022, a giant store in Maryland was forced to discard hundreds of pounds of produce after a fruit fly infestation spread from the banana section to the leafy greens. But before any of that contaminated fruit was finally removed, it reportedly sat out for hours, fully available for unsuspecting customers to purchase. Other shoppers reported their own unsettling findings. One noticed a swarm of gnats hovering over the organic apples. Another spotted visible spider webs between the stems of cilantro bunches. These are not signs of a well-managed produce department. They are warning signs loud and clear that something is seriously wrong. And here's the root of the issue training. One employee revealed that new produce staff at Giant receive less than 2 hours of training in food safety before they are expected to manage the entire produce department on their own, especially during off-peak hours. Think about that. 2 hours to learn how to handle perishable, temperature-sensitive items that dozens, if not hundreds, of people will consume. 2 hours to understand how to rotate stock, how to recognize spoilage, and how to maintain sanitation in a food environment. What does all of this mean for you, the shopper, the traveler, the retiree trying to eat well and live safely? It means that when you shop at Giant, especially during summer months when food spoils faster, you're not just picking out vegetables, you're placing your trust in a system that, behind the scenes, might be prioritizing shelf appearance and profit over safety and integrity. And in a time where travel safety and food reliability are more important than ever, that should give every shopper pause. Number 6. Family Dollar. Yes, Family Dollar does sell vegetables, not at every location, but enough of them carry canned goods, packaged produce, and even fresh items to deserve a closer look. The problem is, many of the stores that do sell produce are the very places where you may want to think twice before buying it. And it's not just a question of how things look, it's about what's happening behind the scenes. In the year 2023, Family Dollar made national headlines for all the wrong reasons. Over 400 stores were forced to shut down temporarily due to a massive rodent infestation at a central distribution warehouse. That facility supplied food, including fruits and vegetables, to dozens of Family Dollar stores across multiple states. According to a detailed report from the United States Food and Drug Administration, investigators found live rodents, dead rodents, droppings, and even urine in areas where food was being stored and prepared for distribution. The company's response: they pulled affected products, but they did it quietly, without transparency, and in many cases, not completely. Weeks after the recall was issued, customers were still reporting finding canned vegetables on the shelves of stores within the recall zone. Others said they purchased bags of onions and garlic with strange, sour odors, only to realize the items had passed their expiration dates by several months. And even when the warehouse issues aren't in play, many of Family Dollar's in-store practices raise serious concerns. For one, most stores are not equipped with proper refrigeration units for perishable vegetables. That means any fresh produce, if it even arrives, is left out at room temperature for hours or even days before anyone checks it. One employee was quoted saying, "If the AC goes out, we keep selling stuff unless it smells. That's not food safety, that's a recipe for illness." Supply chain consistency is another major problem. Some stores receive produce deliveries only once per week. Others don't receive fresh items at all. One manager confessed that when a shipment skipped produce altogether, they simply reused old inventory or borrowed aging stock from the discount bin to fill empty displays. That included wiping moldy bell peppers with paper towels, rotating soft potatoes to the front of the bin, and dusting off withered onions to make them appear new again. There have even been allegations of repackaging. A shopper in Georgia shared that they purchased a plastic produce bag with a Best By sticker dated January, but they bought it in late March. When they asked the cashier about it, the response was, "It's still good, just dry." Needless to say, it wasn't. Beyond the produce itself, the conditions inside many Family Dollar stores, especially in low-income neighborhoods, make matters worse. These locations are often underfunded, understaffed, and poorly maintained. Dirty floors, broken refrigerators, leaking ceilings, and insect problems are not one-off issues. They are regular occurrences, and when you add a produce section into that environment, it becomes more than just a mess, it becomes a public health hazard. So, what can you do? Here's the uncomfortable truth: the freshest, cleanest, and safest vegetables are no longer guaranteed by the name on the storefront or by a cheerful flyer hanging over the aisle. You can't afford to shop on autopilot anymore, not in this economy, and certainly not with the kind of practices being uncovered. The real solution isn't just switching stores, it's changing how you shop. Start by using your senses. Train your eyes. Look for signs of true freshness. Snap the stems. Smell the leaves. Check for condensation under the plastic wrap. If the carrots bend instead of snapping, leave them. If that pre-cut salad smells like sour vinegar, trust your nose. And if a tomato is shinier than your shoes, maybe it's not natural. You hold more power than you realize. Every time you put down a bruised bag of lettuce, every time you skip a soggy bin of produce, every time you refuse to buy what clearly isn't fresh, you're sending a message. That message doesn't just stop at the store level, it travels, it reaches managers, it reaches suppliers, and over time, it pushes the industry to take notice. Because at the end of the day, food isn't just about price, it's about trust. And once that trust is gone, no discount is worth the stomachache. So next time you're shopping, take a second look. Ask the questions that matter. Don't let the word fresh fool you. You deserve to know what you're really bringing home. Tap like, hit subscribe, and help someone else learn to see beyond the shine, because the truth isn't always on the label, but it should be.